Get out of the car, Natalie. My sister's voice was ice cold as she stepped out from behind the trees, gripping a tire iron in her gloved hand. My husband stood beside her, his face a mask of determination, mixed with something I'd never seen before: anticipation. In that moment, on that deserted stretch of road, I realized they weren't just planning to hurt me. They were going to kill me. Have you ever wondered if the people closest to you are actually the most dangerous? The ones who know your routines, your weaknesses, your blind spots. What would you do if you overheard your own family plotting against you? Would you run? Would you confront them? Or would you do what I did? Set a trap and watch them fall into it. My name is Natalie Harper, and I'm 34 years old. If you'd told me a year ago that my own sister and husband would plot to kill me for insurance money, I would have laughed in your face. Now I know better. I know that sometimes the people who say I love you are planning your funeral behind your back. This isn't just a story about betrayal. It's about how I turned the tables on the two people I trusted most and made sure they got exactly what they deserved. If you've ever been betrayed or underestimated, hit that like button now. Subscribe to hear more stories of family karma, and drop a comment telling me if you would have handled things differently. Now, let me take you back to the beginning, before I knew my perfect life was built on lies. I grew up in a small Ohio town where everyone knew everyone's business. My parents were both teachers, hardworking, honest people who raised us to believe family was everything. Blood is thicker than water, my mom would say. Your sister is the only person who'll be with you your whole life. If only she knew how wrong she'd be. Mallory was 3 years younger than me, but you'd never know it by how she carried herself. She was the golden child, homecoming queen, straight-A student, the girl every boy wanted to date and every girl wanted to be. I was different, quieter, more bookish. I preferred staying home with a novel, while Mallory was out being the life of every party. I never resented her for it, though. How could I? She was my best friend. When the other girls at school made fun of my thrift store clothes, Mallory was the one who stood up for me. When I got my first heartbreak at 16, she was the one who brought ice cream and stayed up all night listening to me cry. I loved her fiercely, protectively, the way only an older sister can. Then came college. I studied graphic design at Ohio State while Mallory went to NYU on a partial scholarship. Those years apart were good for us. I found my confidence, made my own friends, built a life that wasn't defined by being Mallory's quiet sister. That's when I met Ethan. He was in my marketing elective, tall, ambitious, with a smile that made my heart skip. We started as study partners, then friends, then more. By graduation, we were inseparable. He proposed on a crisp autumn day in our senior year, down on one knee in the university garden where we had our first date. "You're my rock, Natalie," he'd said, his voice trembling slightly. "You make me want to be better, to build something real." I said yes without hesitation, called Mallory immediately after. She screamed so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "I'm going to be the best maid of honor ever," she promised. And she was. She helped with everything: the venue, the flowers, my dress. On my wedding day, she gave a toast that made everyone laugh and cry. "My sister has always been the smart one," she said, raising her glass. "And marrying Ethan proves it. He's the luckiest man in the world, and he better never forget it." The next few years were everything I dreamed of. Ethan's business career took off. I built a steady freelance graphic design business from our cozy suburban home. We talked about starting a family, soon, that nebulous future that seemed so certain. Mallory moved back to Ohio after a bad breakup, taking a marketing job just 30 minutes from us. Our family felt complete again. But looking back, that's when things started to change. Subtle at first. So subtle I missed the warning signs. It was little comments at first. "Ethan's wasting his talent at that company," Mallory would say over Sunday dinner. "He could be making twice as much elsewhere." Or, "You're so lucky, Nat. Most men who look like Ethan would never settle down so young." Settle down. As if marrying me was settling. As if I should be grateful. Then came the unannounced visits. I'd come home from a client meeting to find Mallory's car in our driveway. I'd walk in to find her and Ethan on the couch, laughing over some private joke, falling silent when I entered. "Just catching up with my favorite brother-in-law," she'd say with that dazzling smile. And I'd smile back, ignoring the knot in my stomach. Ethan started working later, taking business calls in the bathroom, changing his phone password. Classic signs, right? But I trusted him. Trusted them both. Because that's what family does. You're being paranoid, I told myself. They've always been close. It's good that they get along so well. I made excuses, ignored the evidence mounting right in front of me, until that Thanksgiving night when I couldn't ignore it anymore. We hosted Thanksgiving that year. My parents drove in from Cleveland. A few close friends joined us. I spent days preparing, brining the turkey, baking pies, making sure everything was perfect. Mallory offered to help, but showed up 3 hours late with a store-bought side dish and a bottle of expensive wine. "Sorry I'm late," she said, kissing my cheek. "Got caught up with a work thing." She winked at Ethan as she said it. I pretended not to notice. Dinner was beautiful. Candles lit, good china out, conversation flowing easily along with the wine. Mom talked about her students. Dad complained good-naturedly about retirement. For a moment, one perfect moment, I felt truly happy. Complete. After dinner, Mom mentioned being cold. She was always cold these days, even indoors. I offered to get her a blanket from upstairs. No one paid much attention as I slipped away from the table. I was reaching for the linen closet when I heard them. Voices from the guest bedroom, Mallory's laugh, low and intimate, and Ethan's voice, urgent and tense. I froze, hand outstretched, heart suddenly pounding. I know eavesdropping is wrong. I know I should have walked away. But something in their tone, something secretive, conspiratorial, rooted me to the spot. I moved closer to the door, barely breathing. "She's too trusting," Mallory whispered, her voice carrying clearly through the thin door. "If we time it right, she'll never see it coming." My blood turned to ice. I pressed my ear harder against the wood. "Are you sure about this?" Ethan's voice was barely audible. "What if someone finds out?" Mallory scoffed, a sound I heard 1,000 times when she thought someone was being stupid. "No one will. We'll make it look like an accident. She's always so clumsy. Everyone knows that." The floor seemed to tilt beneath my feet. My vision narrowed to a pinpoint. I must have misunderstood. They couldn't be talking about. They wouldn't. 3 million, Ethan. Mallory's voice again, eager now. Tax-free. We could go anywhere, do anything, and all it takes is one little accident. I don't know. Ethan sounded hesitant, but not horrified, not outraged at the suggestion. Just calculating. "Don't go soft on me now," Mallory hissed. "We've come too far. The policy's in place. Everything's ready. All we need is the right moment." I backed away from the door, my hands shaking so badly I had to press them against my thighs. Insurance policy? Accident? They were planning to kill me. My sister and my husband were plotting my death in my own home, while my parents sat downstairs eating pumpkin pie. Somehow I made it back to the dining room, grabbed a throw blanket from the living room couch, handed it to my mom with a smile that felt grotesque on my face. "Everything okay, honey?" Mom asked, studying my face. "You look pale." "Just a headache," I lied. "Too much wine." Minutes later, Mallory and Ethan returned to the table, one after the other. Casual, smiling. Mallory topped off everyone's wine glasses. Ethan put his hand on my shoulder, squeezing gently. "You okay, babe? You're tense." His touch made my skin crawl. I forced myself to lean into it, to nod and smile. Just tired from all the cooking. I watched them for the rest of the night. The secret glances. The way Mallory's hand brushed Ethan's when passing the dessert plates. The silent communication between them. How had I been so blind? After everyone left, I waited until Ethan fell asleep. Then I took his phone from the nightstand and went to the bathroom. My hands trembled as I entered his password, which I'd secretly watched him change to Mal722 weeks earlier, but hadn't questioned. Now I knew. 722, July 22nd, Mallory's birthday. What I found shattered any lingering doubts. Hundreds of messages between them going back over a year. Love declarations, sexual exchanges, and more recently, coded conversations about the plan. Policy confirmed. Ethan had written 3 weeks earlier. 3 mil if accident, only 1 if suicide, so has to look real. We need somewhere isolated, Mallory had replied. Make sure no witnesses. I took screenshots, emailed them to myself. then deleted the emails from his sent folder, put the phone back exactly where I'd found it, laid beside the man I'd loved for 10 years, and stared at the ceiling until dawn, feeling like I was drowning in an ocean of betrayal. The pain was physical, a crushing weight on my chest, a knife twisting in my gut. The two people I loved most in the world had been laughing behind my back, planning my death, imagining their life together after I was gone. Every kiss, every "I love you," every moment of the past year had been a lie. I wanted to scream, to confront them, to call the police immediately. But some small, rational part of my brain held me back. I had screenshots of suspicious texts, but nothing concrete, nothing that proved they were actually planning to kill me. I needed more, and I needed to be careful, very, very careful, because now I knew something they didn't. They weren't hunting me anymore. I was hunting them. Have you ever had that moment where your entire world shifts, where everything you thought you knew turns inside out? That's what happened to me. In a single night, I went from loving wife to potential murder victim, from trusting sister to, well, something else entirely. I gave myself 3 days to fall apart. 3 days of crying in the shower where Ethan couldn't hear me. 3 days of forcing myself to act normal while screaming inside. 3 days of planning what to do next. On day 4, I called Jenna. We'd been friends since elementary school, before Mallory was even born. We drifted apart after college when she joined the police force and later became a private investigator, but we still exchanged birthday cards and Christmas emails. I trusted her completely, which wasn't something I could say about many people anymore. "I need to meet you," I said when she answered. "Somewhere private, it's important." We met at a coffee shop 2 towns over. I wore sunglasses and a hat, feeling ridiculous but terrified of being seen. When I finished telling her everything, the overheard conversation, the text messages, my suspicions, she didn't look shocked. She looked angry. "This happens more than you'd think," she said, her voice tight. "Life insurance scams between spouses. The beneficiary almost always becomes the prime suspect. But if they're careful, they're being careful," I said. "Mallory's smart, always has been, and Ethan's meticulous about details." Jenna nodded, already taking notes. "We need to build a case, solid evidence, and you need to stay safe while we do it." "How do I act normal when I know they're planning to kill me?" She reached across the table, squeezed my hand. "You're stronger than you think, Nat. And now, you have the advantage. They don't know that you know." The next few weeks were the most surreal of my life. By day, I was Natalie Harper, dutiful wife and loving sister. I cooked Ethan's favorite meals, met Mallory for our usual Saturday lunches, smiled and nodded and played my part perfectly. By night, I worked with Jenna, building our case piece by piece. She set up surveillance, followed Ethan and Mallory to their secret meetings, documented everything. What she uncovered was worse than I'd imagined. "They've been having an affair for at least 14 months, she told me. Sliding photographs across her kitchen table. Images of my husband and sister embracing, kissing in a hotel parking lot. I felt sick looking at them, but forced myself to commit every detail to memory. "There's more," Jenna continued. "They opened a joint bank account 6 months ago. And they've been moving money from your joint savings with Ethan, small amounts, but it adds up. Almost $40,000 so far." The betrayal cut deeper with each new revelation. But the final blow came when Jenna uncovered the insurance policy. "He took it out 8 months ago," she said, showing me the documents. $3 million. You're insured for 3 times what he is. And he made himself the sole beneficiary. Not your parents, not even as secondary beneficiaries. "Is that unusual?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "Very, especially the amount. And there's an accelerated payment clause for accidental death." She met my eyes. "Natalie, they're not just talking about this. They're actively planning it." I nodded, a strange calm settling over me. "So what do we do?" "We take this to the police," she said. "We have enough for them to investigate." And we did. Detective Morgan was skeptical at first. They always are when it's a spouse reporting another spouse. But Jenna's evidence was compelling. The insurance policy, the bank transfers, the documented meetings, the text messages. "We'll need more to make charges stick," Morgan said. "Right now, it's circumstantial. We need them to actually attempt something." "You want me to wait until they try to kill me?" I asked. my voice rising. Morgan had the grace to look uncomfortable. We'll set up protection, surveillance, but we need to catch them in the act, or at least in clear preparation. If you're watching this and thinking I should have just left, disappeared, started a new life somewhere, believe me, I considered it. But something inside me refused to run. This was my life they were trying to steal. My future. And a strange, cold fury had replaced my initial shock and pain. They wanted to play games? Fine, I'd play too. But I'd make the rules. If this video has helped you in any way, please hit that like button and subscribe to Family Karmic Revenge. Your support helps me share more stories of justice served. And comment below if you've ever had to set a trap for someone who betrayed you. I'd love to hear your story. January in Ohio is brutal. The kind of cold that seeps into your bones that makes everything harder. Driving, thinking, breathing. It had been snowing on and off for days, leaving the roads treacherous and visibility poor. Perfect conditions for an accident. I noticed Ethan checking the weather obsessively, whispering on the phone when he thought I was asleep. The signs were there. They were getting ready to make their move. When Ethan suggested we go for a drive one Wednesday evening, my pulse spiked. "I've been distant lately," he said, his face a mask of fake concern. "I think we need to talk about our future. Clear the air." I smiled, touched his cheek. "That sounds wonderful. Where were you thinking?" "Maybe up to the lake? It's beautiful in the snow." A lake, isolated this time of year. Winding roads with steep drops. Miles from the nearest house. "Perfect," I said, and went upstairs to change into something warmer. Actually, I was texting Jenna and Detective Morgan. Location, route, estimated departure time. Everything they needed to follow us discreetly. I also activated the recording app on my phone, slipped a GPS tracker into my boot, Jenna's idea, and tucked a small canister of pepper spray into my coat pocket. If something went wrong with the police surveillance, I wasn't going down without a fight. Ethan was oddly quiet as we drove, one hand on the wheel, the other checking his phone repeatedly. I kept up a stream of meaningless chatter, pretending not to notice his tension. "Mom called today," I said. "She's thinking of taking a cruise this summer. Isn't that great?" He wasn't even listening. "And I was thinking, maybe we should look at that new housing development near your office. The commute is killing you." "We'll see." His eyes flicked to the rearview mirror for the 5th time in as many minutes. "Everything okay?" I asked innocently. He seemed distracted. He forced a smile. "Just tired. Work's been crazy." We turned onto the lake road, narrow, winding, bordered by thick woods on one side and a steep ravine on the other. No streetlights, no houses. Just darkness and snow and the distant gleam of ice-covered water. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I kept my voice steady. "It's beautiful out here. So peaceful." Ethan nodded, checking his phone again. Then, right on cue, he frowned. "That's strange. Engine temperature's rising. I better pull over and check it." He guided the car to a small turnout overlooking the ravine and cut the engine. "Stay here where it's warm," he said. "I'll just take a quick look." He popped the hood and got out, disappearing behind it. I knew he wasn't actually checking anything. He was sending a signal. I sat perfectly still, counting my breaths, waiting. 1 minute passed. 2. Then movement in the trees caught my eye. A figure emerging from the darkness. Mallory, dressed all in black, her breath clouding in the frigid air. She was carrying something. Long, metal, gleaming dully in the moonlight. A tire iron. My mouth went dry. This was really happening. My own sister was approaching our car with a weapon, intending to kill me. Despite all the evidence, despite knowing this moment was coming, some part of me had still held on to disbelief. Not anymore. I took a deep breath, opened the car door, and stepped out into the snow. "Mallory," I said calmly, "fancy meeting you here." She froze, clearly not expecting me to exit the car voluntarily. Then her expression hardened. "Get out of the car." "Natalie," she said, as if I wasn't already standing in front of her. Ethan came around from the front of the car, his face pale in the moonlight. He moved to stand beside Mallory, though I noticed he kept a slight distance from her. "Coward. This doesn't have to be difficult," Mallory said, her voice eerily calm. "Just do what we say and it'll be over quickly." "Over quickly," I repeated, Like my marriage? Like our sisterhood? Those ended pretty quickly too, didn't they? Confusion flickered across her face. What are you talking about? I know everything, Mal. The affair, the bank account, the life insurance policy. Did you really think I was that stupid? Ethan stepped forward, hands outstretched placatingly. Natalie, you're confused. We're just trying to help you. Help me into an early grave, I said. $3 million worth of help. Mallory's grip tightened on the tire iron. You don't know what you're saying. You're hysterical. I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound that echoed in the frozen air. I've never been clearer in my life. You've been planning this for months. The only question is whether you were going to bash my head in and push the car over the ravine, or just make it look like I lost control on the ice. Their silence confirmed everything. I took a step closer, watching Mallory's knuckles whiten around the tire iron. You know what the sad part is? I would have given either of you anything. If you needed money, Ethan, you just had to ask. If you were in love with my husband, Mal, you could have told me. It would have hurt, but I would have stepped aside eventually. I loved you both that much. It's not that simple, Mallory hissed. It was never just about the money or about him. Then what? I demanded. What was worth killing your own sister for? You always had everything, she shouted, her composed facade cracking. The perfect marriage, the perfect home, everyone thinking you're so sweet and good. Little Miss Perfect Natalie who never does anything wrong. I wanted you to lose something for once. The raw hatred in her voice staggered me. All these years while I'd been admiring her, envying her popularity and confidence, she'd been resenting me, hating me for things I never even valued. Before I could respond, headlights swept the area. Car doors slammed. Suddenly, the small turnout was flooded with light as police cruisers blocked the road in both directions. Police, drop the weapon! Multiple officers emerged from the darkness, guns drawn. Mallory's face contorted with rage. She looked at the tire iron in her hand, then at me, and for a terrifying moment, I thought she might swing anyway. Consequences be damned. Instead, she let it fall to the snow with a dull thud. You set us up, she said, her voice flat with disbelief. I watched as officers handcuffed both of them, reading them their rights. Detective Morgan approached me, draping a blanket over my shoulders. You did good, she said. We got everything on audio and video. Their conversation with you. The weapon. It's over. But it wasn't over. Not really. In some ways, it was just beginning. The aftermath of betrayal isn't a straight line. It's not like the movies where the bad guys go to jail and the credits roll while the hero walks triumphantly into the sunset. Real life is messier, more complicated. Ethan and Mallory were charged with conspiracy to commit murder and attempted murder. The evidence was overwhelming. Their text messages, the financial transactions, the insurance policy, and of course, their actions that night on the lake road. Ethan's lawyer tried to claim entrapment, but it didn't work. I had discovered their plot naturally. The police had merely set up surveillance to catch them in the act. The trial was brutal. Sitting in that courtroom, watching my husband and sister in their orange jumpsuits, feeling the pitying stares of everyone around me, it was humiliating. Painful. The prosecution played recordings of their conversations, planning my death, read their text messages aloud. My parents sat behind me, Mom crying silently, Dad's face a mask of stunned grief. We failed them both, I overheard Mom whisper to Dad one day during a recess. How did we not see this in Mallory? I wanted to comfort them, to tell them it wasn't their fault, but I had no comfort to give. I was still trying to understand it myself. Mallory refused to look at me throughout the trial. Ethan tried once, mouthing "I'm sorry," when his lawyer wasn't watching. I turned away. His remorse meant nothing to me now. In the end, they both took plea deals. Ethan got 15 years for his cooperation in testifying against Mallory, who received 25. The judge called it one of the most cold-blooded conspiracies he'd ever seen. Family should be our safe harbor, he said during sentencing. That you would violate that most sacred trust for financial gain shows a moral bankruptcy that this court finds particularly disturbing. When it was over, when the gavel fell and they were led away, I felt nothing, not relief, not satisfaction, just a vast, echoing emptiness where my heart used to be. The reporters wanted interviews, true crime podcasts called constantly. I turned them all down, filed for divorce, sold the house, cut all ties with Mallory. Though my parents still visit her in prison, they're trying to forgive her. I'm not sure I ever can. For months I drifted, stayed with Jenna for a while, rented a small apartment, took sleeping pills to get through the nights. My business suffered. Who wants to hire a graphic designer who can't focus for more than 10 minutes at a time? The insurance company investigated thoroughly before finally releasing the policy funds to me. An ironic twist I could have lived without. But slowly, imperceptibly at first, I began to heal. Started therapy with a counselor who specialized in trauma and betrayal. Joined a support group for survivors of domestic violence, because that's what this was, even without physical blows. The most intimate form of violence, a violation of trust. 1 year after the arrests, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let their betrayal define the rest of my life. I used part of the insurance money, yes, there's another irony, to start my own graphic design agency, hired 2 junior designers, moved to Chicago for a fresh start where no one knew my story. I'm dating again cautiously, building new friendships slowly, learning to trust my instincts, to recognize red flags, to establish boundaries. Some days are still hard. I still wake up sometimes with my heart racing, remembering Mallory's face in the moonlight, that tire iron gleaming in her hand. But those days are becoming fewer. Last month, I got a letter from Ethan. I recognized his handwriting on the envelope and nearly threw it away unopened. But curiosity won out. "I don't expect forgiveness," he wrote. "I don't deserve it, but I want you to know that not everything was a lie. I did love you, in the beginning, before Mallory, before greed poisoned everything. You deserved better than what we did to you. What I did to you. I hope someday you find happiness again." I burned the letter in my kitchen sink, watched the paper curl and blacken and disappear. His words meant nothing to me now. Mallory hasn't written. I don't expect she ever will. Some betrayals cut too deep for words to bridge. So why am I telling you this story? Not for sympathy, not for attention, but because I learned something valuable from this nightmare, something I want to share. Trust your instincts. When something feels wrong, it usually is. Don't dismiss those feelings as paranoia or insecurity. Your subconscious picks up on warning signs long before your conscious mind acknowledges them. Document everything. If I hadn't taken screenshots, recorded conversations, kept a journal of suspicious behavior, the outcome might have been very different. Evidence matters. Build a support network outside your family and marriage. If Jenna hadn't been there for me, I might not be here to tell this story. And finally, remember that surviving betrayal doesn't make you bitter. It makes you wise. I'm not the same trusting, naive woman I was before that Thanksgiving night. I'm stronger, more discerning, more self-reliant. My sister and husband thought they were writing the end of my story. Instead, they only wrote the end of its first chapter. I'm writing the rest myself, one day at a time. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to Family Karmic Revenge for more stories of justice served. Hit the like button if you found value in my experience, and leave a comment sharing your thoughts. Your support means everything as I continue sharing these difficult but important stories. Remember, the best revenge isn't violence or hatred, it's living well on your own terms without looking back.